Way back during the Wii era, there was one thing Zelda fans would not stop talking about: the timeline. Thanks to videos from the Angry Video Game Nerd, game trailers, and countless content creators, the community became obsessed with trying to figure out how all of these games fit together. References would pop up in some forming a link, where others would contradict possible timelines people were proposing. The conversation online led to Nintendo teaming up with Dark Horse to release the Hyrule Historia, a literal Zelda Bible with pages of art and the story of the series up to Skyward Sword explaining how everything was connected. After its release, everyone got the answers that they were looking for, and we somewhat moved on. Now that we knew the timeline, I would only really see discussion about it whenever a new game was coming out. Then when Nintendo said where it took place, we would move on. But here's the thing with the Zelda timeline. I think it's bad for the series. When it came out, it was held together by 25-year-old Scotch tape, and it's only gotten flimsier with each new release. Trying to adhere to it will only hurt future games. The obsession with a canon like this is unhealthy for stories that are set hundreds of years apart, and it can remove more from the story than it adds. We need to let the Zelda timeline die, and I will kill it if I have to. It's time to move on from this relic from the 2012 Zelda YouTube scene. Let me know your thoughts about the Zelda timeline down below, because I'm really curious if I'm the only one who feels this way about it. And if you enjoy the video and want more content about games, and sometimes movies and TV shows, feel free to subscribe. First, I want to focus on how this doesn't even make any sense. Not by looking at inconsistencies. I'm not going to throw out this whole thing because there's moblins and Minish Cap. I want to talk about two big things that really blow up the whole interconnected canon. First off, the bottom left branch, where Link fails in Ocarina of Time. That should ruin this whole thing. When we cared so much about this sacred timeline, we kind of just accepted that that can exist alongside the other two branches. Like, I always thought it was weird, but didn't really care that much. The timeline splits off after Ocarina because of time travel shenanigans. If they were trying to make a Zelda timeline way back when they made Ocarina, note, they weren't. They only cared because we wouldn't stop talking about it online. Having time travel work in a way where the dark future in Ocarina of Time doesn't get erased when Zelda sends Link back, causing there to be two concurrent timelines, is a fun idea. But that's not what they were trying to do in this moment. And even if they were, in this game they established the multiverse as one timeline that branches off after time travel, but only this singular instance of time travel. So these two timelines can run beside each other and make sense. But this cannot. How did we accept a singular what-if scenario being canon? It doesn't help that there isn't anything else like this in the timeline. Where's my timeline where Toon Link fails because he accidentally crashed his boat and he had no way to get around anymore? So it really feels out for the games that they couldn't figure out a place to put them in, they just banished them to a less official timeline. Funny enough, they're all the older games with less of a focus on story. It was something that always confused me when I first got the Hyrule Historia. I accepted it because it was the Zelda timeline that I've been waiting so long to see, and they were hiding it from us the whole time. When in actuality, they don't care? This really should have killed the whole thing, especially because not a single theory predicted that what-if scenario. But we gaslit ourselves into pretending everything is fine, and this whole thing still made sense. Then Breath of the Wild happened. That's right, the Breath of the Wild part now. Let's talk about Breath of the Wild. Can we talk about Breath of the Wild now, chat? I've been dying to talk to you about it all day, okay? Where does Breath of the Wild take place? Back when I really cared about the timeline, I was banking on it taking place after Skyward Sword. For an open world game, having it take place when the Kingdom of Hyrule is still fairly early in its history made sense. Remove one line from a cutscene and blammo, everything's fine. But instead of trying to find a logical point in the timeline, they said screw it and threw it in the end. The end of which timeline, you're asking? All of them. Yeah, it just all ends up at Breath of the Wild, which could be a neat concept that no matter what, Calamity Ganon is a canon event. But no, because Breath of the Wild references games that exist in different timelines, which is impossible unless there was a big event that merged all the timelines into one that no one ever references. But like, that's too big of an event to gloss over, so if you're going to have to reach that far, I'm going to call BS. It's like these games weren't designed to be in a connected timeline anyways, and it's just a fan concept that got too loud for the series to ignore. more. The funniest thing about it is that one line in Breath of the Wild and the origin of Hyrule being different in Tears of the Kingdom completely contradicts all 4 branches of the Zelda timeline. The rewriting of Hyrule's origin messes with the top part of the timeline, and they reference things in every timeline, making it impossible to accept that it all leads here. If they really wanted to make Calamity Ganon a canon event for the timeline, they didn't need to reference any of the older games like they do. It's like they don't care about the timeline, and the only reason why they talk about it is because we obsessed over it in the 2010s. Oh wait, they don't care because they changed where Breath of the Wild takes place after Tears of the Kingdom blew up the timeline. They just kind of threw it into its own canon and didn't tell us about it until a year after Tears came out at like a concert in Australia? Like, wait, what are you guys doing here? Do you know? So they either lied or changed their mind. And one credit I will give this very messy timeline, the Hyrule Historia has a future proof for any retcons, which is something I did not discover until I brought the book here and was looking through it on camera. So I'm going to play what I discovered for you guys now. They kind of admit this whole thing is bullshit in this book. This chronicle merely collects information that is believed to be true at this time, and there are many obscured and unanswered secrets that still lie within the tale. As the stories and storytellers of Hyrule changed, so does its history. Hyrule's history is a continuously woven tapestry of events. Changes that seem inconsequential, disregarded without even a shrug, could evolve at some point to hatch new legends and perhaps change this tapestry of history itself. Why did we put so much stock in this timeline when the book itself says, yeah, we can just change this timeline whenever? So with all that, I think it's better if we move on from the timeline. If we try to stick within this canon, we're limiting what the series can do. What happens if they come up with another fun origin for Hyrule? Realistically, they have 3 options. Not use it because it messes with the established canon, contort it so it fits within said canon, or 3, just say fuck it like Tears of the Kingdom did. I think that's why after Breath of the Wild only messed with 3 branches of the timeline, they still just said it was canon. But when Tears of the Kingdom tossed the rest of the Historia into the wood chipper, they just said screw it. Personally, with the games, I would rather them ignore the previous canon so the new stories have room to breathe. Like the prequel Warriors game isn't even canon. Like, guys, what are we doing here? Genuinely, why do we still care? They don't until we start talking about it. It makes them panic, and then they come up with a stupid-ass answer. All this so we can hold back the writing of any future games? One thing that's always bothered me about the timeline is how locations kept moving. If I'm supposed to accept that all of these games exist within the same canon and lead into each other, how come they keep moving the castle? Sometimes the forest is to the south, sometimes it's to the north. I guess Lake Hylia keeps drying out because that's always moving too. Even the fucking volcano loves moving. I get that I'm nitpicking and blah blah blah, something about ludonarrative dissonance or whatever, but if we're going to accept that what if Link died in Ocarina of Time can work with everything leading to Breath of the Wild, except never mind, we fucked up and changed the origin of Hyrule in Tears of the Kingdom, so it's actually its own thing, I could talk about how they push Hyrule Castle somewhere else every few hundred years. It's always been broken, and it's only getting worse. We need to move on. Funny enough, I think the answer for how we should be treating all of these stories has been staring us in the face this whole time. In fact, I think it's how Nintendo viewed it prior to them making the Historia. We should treat each game as its own legend. They're all myths from this mystical land called Hyrule, and it doesn't matter if they contradict each other or reference each other, because a legend doesn't need to happen to exist within a game's canon. It could just be a folktale. Funny enough, how they look at Breath of the Wild post Tears of the Kingdom is the correct route to take. It references the hero of Twilight and the hero of the Winds, but that doesn't necessarily mean those events happen. The hero could wear a green hat because he befriended a talking Minish cap? I'm going to be honest, I never finished the game, so I do not remember what this dude is. Or he could wear the green tunic because that's what the hero wore at his Knight's Academy. This could be used to explain away any inconsistencies that people focus on, because it doesn't matter. It's all a legend. Well, this doesn't make any sense in Spirit Tracks because Ocarina of Time says this. Well, okay, cool. Ocarina is just a legend in that world. Even for Wind Waker, yeah, it references the events of Ocarina of Time pretty explicitly, but that doesn't mean it happened exactly like it does, or even remotely close to how it does in Ocarina. It's just a legend. Treating the previous games like this gives fans the references that they want, while allowing themselves to do whatever they want with newer games. Honestly, I think this obsession spawned from fans talking about the series so much during the early days of YouTube, that once we overanalyzed every aspect of all of the games that we had to move on to something else. And because Zelda games take forever to make for some reason, we moved on to the timeline. Something that was, and honestly still is, an impossible puzzle. We could theoretically get infinite content out of the timeline, so that's what we did. Until Nintendo teamed up with Dark Horse and cut the pieces so they could fit together. And like what I've spent the whole video talking about, I think it's hurting the series at this point. Now, if you want to theorize how everything fits together, go for it. I don't care. If that's how you enjoy the series, more power to you. Don't let anyone, let alone me, tell you you're enjoying the series wrong. But we shouldn't be following this flimsy ass timeline and restricting their creative freedom because of it. Or making up rules on the fly because, oops, this breaks canon. But I think it's better if Nintendo moves on from it. And while as fun as it is to think about the whole timeline, we really shouldn't treat it as gospel. It doesn't make any sense. It's unhealthy for the series. And clearly Nintendo doesn't care about it until we start talking about it, or it's time to sell us a new book that I will buy. We need to let the Zelda timeline die so the creators can do whatever they want without worrying about established canon. Do you agree? Think I'm an idiot? Comment down below. Like the video if it's very obvious that I was filming it during a Leaf playoff game day, and subscribe for more content. Follow me on other platforms if you want. Take care, guys.